Our intro to me today is Kate Bacik, who fights Paula Cristina at
Yo,
Invicta 56. That fight is on August 9th. So, Kate, I wanted to start here. You've got a really impressive professional record, 4-1 at the moment. But I actually wanted to take you back to the debut because you debuted on a loss, albeit a split decision loss to a fighter who's now in the UFC. When you look back at that, do you feel that that was, kind of a good learning experience? How do you look back at that loss in your debut?
I think way beyond like wins and losses, and I just think it was a great experience. Like, I got lucky enough to make my pro debut on a good platform in Dubai, like against a very solid opponent. It was a great fight as well. I think I tested myself as a fighter in that fight in kind of every aspect, and it kind of showed me also like what sort of heart I've got inside me. And even though it was a loss, it was a split decision loss, which you know how it is with split decision. It could have gone either way. So I wouldn't be mad either way, right? If I won, I'd be like, well, it was a split. So it's not really like fully satisfying. I lost the split and I'm like, yeah, like a lot of people saying I won that fight. I don't really care about it. What matters is the experience, the cage time, and also the fact that at that time I didn't even train in like a proper gym. Like, I had some great coaches. I had my coach Tommy with me who put a lot of energy and time into me, but I didn't have the right sparring partners. I kind of was all over the place with like 5 different gyms and that. Obviously, after that fight, I joined GBTT and things have changed. So I know I'm never gonna be in the same spot. And like I'm just glad that I had that experience. I never think of it as a loss or what could have been.
And do you kind of sort of attribute that to why you're on such an amazing run now? Again, it could be 5-0. It could very easily be 5-0. But is that joining of a team, having the training partners, obviously it being as big of a team as GBTT, like, do you attribute that to why your winning streak sort of took off and why things have, I mean, looked a lot easier for you since?
I mean, for sure, like this is probably the best gym in Europe if we want to be honest, and I've got some of the best coaches in the world, people that have been there and done that, that have like 30, 40 plus pro fights and like some, amazing performances on the biggest platforms. So I'm in good hands and I already know my skill set and I'm still developing it every day. And I know I'm getting better literally on a weekly basis. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the future will bring. But in terms of, the coaches and sparring partners, like I couldn't be happier.
Well, that's great to hear. Now, I did want to ask you too about, how you sort of got into MMA because a lot of people nowadays, the MMA is more popular. You're seeing more young kids get into it. You're seeing guys make their debuts at, 16, 17, 18 years old. You made your, if I'm not mistaken, your amateur debut at 28, correct?
Is it? I don't even know, to be honest.
Yeah, okay, but a little bit later than some people are. What sort of dragged you into the sport at that stage in your life?
I mean, I've been training since I was 17 years old. I just did mostly Muay Thai and kickboxing, and then I got into more like MMA based style training, but it wasn't really fully MMA. Then I kind of went deep into grappling while still obviously trying to like pursue that career in MMA. Then I went back to MMA and I did kickboxing again, this and that. So it's kind of like I've been a fighter my whole life. I used to fight a lot when I was a kid, but not necessarily in like controlled sports settings. And one of my friends just invited me to a Muay Thai gym when I was 17. And from then on I realized this is something that really keeps me going and like I want to be doing that. And yeah, I haven't really stopped fighting since, with some breaks for like, like health issues and stuff like that. But other than that, like I've been a fighter since I turned 17, basically. So it's just a matter of what styles I'm competing in. But
So I got to ask you about what you just said. You've been fighting your whole life that you'd like to get into scraps when you were a kid. So tell us a little bit about that. Were you sort of like a problem child? Were you getting in trouble in school and whatnot?
that's probably what my mom would say. But yeah, like certain things I can't even talk about it on the record. But I always liked to scrap, and I always hang out with like guys rather than girls, and like they were sort of annoying me. So I would always end up in some fights and some situations where you got to fight. But the thing is, I always enjoyed it. I was never scared of those situations. I never felt uncomfortable. So I'm probably just a psychopath, and that explains it all. But I'm glad I could take it through like the legal route, and I could do it as a sport rather than be locked up in prison right now.
All right, I like that take. I like that take. So let me ask you too a little bit about your last fight too, because you went to Palace Athenia Championships. It's an organization that's doing really great things for women's MMA at the time. But I want to ask you about your choice to do 125 pounds, because I know most of your career has been up at bantamweight. You make the decision to come down to 125. You look, maybe have your best fight of all time. Do you feel like this is sort of, I know your next fight's going to be at 25 too. Do you feel like this is sort of the right home? What sort of encouraged you to go down a weight class?
So when you really look into it, none of my fights were at 135, or at least I was in 135. Every single fight I had, whether it was at amateur or pro, it was always different weight classes. So let's say pro, I did 58, I did 58 again, I think. I did 60, like I did 57, but that fight never happened. We just made weight and the show got cancelled on the day. I did 60 again on like a day's notice, but waiting at, 61, but I waited at 60. Then I did 59. And then the last fight was obviously at flyweight as well, but the girl didn't make weight. So in the end, like I refilled a little bit waiting at 58. So that's the thing. There's no consistency in terms of like what weights I'm fighting at, and I kind of accepted I'm gonna be that fighter in between, and like I don't really mind. Obviously it depends on the opponent and the circumstances. Like the weight class that I really would like to fight at is 125. That's where I feel at my best, but again, as I said, it depends on circumstances. If there's a fight at 135 like short notice, or I think like I'm not going to be at big disadvantage size wise against that opponent, I'll take it anyways. And I think this is just like me increasing my chances of actually getting a fight, at least for the moment, but the weight class I would love to stay at is 125.
And now you obviously signed a contract to fight at Invicta. We're going to get to see you fight in Invicta in the first couple of weeks of August here. Is it encouraging that you're with this organization that does, have a little bit more consistency, a little bit larger of a roster of, 125-pound women, that you will be able to hopefully put together, 2 or 3, 4 fights in a row at a consistent weight class without having to play a guessing game?
Yeah, I believe that. I've signed with Invicta, I think just over a year ago. And ever since then, we've been trying to make it happen. But obviously, they've not had that many events on and, circumstances. So I'm really happy that we managed to find someone to fight me on this card. And hopefully this is going to be just the beginning to something better. And like 125 will be my division. I'm coming for the belt. And whoever wants to fight me for it, I'll be happy to say yes.
Well, that first step is Paula Cristina. So let's talk a little bit about the style matchup. She's had some big KOs in her career. She's a Nova You Now product, who's obviously, a gym that has a lot of history behind it. What are sort of your thoughts on her as an opponent when you got to looking into her, or when they announced her as your official opponent?
So the first thing when I got sent her name is I realized that I've watched her fight live when she fought Dakota on UAE Warriors a few years ago. So I remember seeing her there. But other than that, I didn't have any other information. I haven't seen her besides that fight. But then obviously looking into her, she's fought some good opponents. She fought Denise Kierholz, who I really respect and think she's a great fighter. She fought Dakota, again, great fighter. But besides that, I don't think she's got many like amazing names on her record that she could show for, and both of these fights she's lost. And to be honest, she lost by decision against fighters that are known for finishing people. So I know she's going to be tough. I know she's going to be durable. I know she's going to be aggressive. She's going to be coming forward, and she wants it as much as I do. But there's levels to this, and it's going to be a good fight. It's going to be a good fight.
Well, you led me perfectly to my last question. I always like ending these things with a prediction. So tell me, how's this one end come August 9th?
I don't like these prediction things. I never do that because it's just. But definitely, my hand is gonna be raised. That's one thing, and it's gonna be a banger of a fight. There's gonna be a fight that people will be talking about after the show. I can promise you that.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. This is Bacik, who fights Paula Cristina at Invicta 56. Once again, that fight, August 9th. Kate, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me on.